I didn't like his statement on smoking. Smoking, by the way, very bad for you. Don't do it, kids. Just say no, stub it out, give up if you can. However, smoking cigarettes is a legal activity. By law, you're allowed to do it. And by the way, it brings in about 12 billion quid a year in duty and taxes for the government, which is probably why all governments say you mustn't smoke. But, you know, if we just carry on doing it because we need the cash. That's basically it. Anyway, Rishi has decided to bring in a New Zealand-style smoking ban, which in effect means that people of a certain age, you know, if you were born after 2008, you're not allowed to buy cigarettes. If you were born before 2008, you can buy cigarettes. Seems a bit divisive to me. Let's just have yet another listen to what the Prime Minister had to say about cigarettes in his speech.
So I propose that in future, we raise the smoking age by 1 year every year. That means a 14-year-old today will never legally be sold a cigarette, and that they and their generation can grow up smoke-free.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I wonder what my next guest thinks. He is the head of lifestyle economics at the IEA, Christopher Snowdown. Good afternoon, Chris.
Afternoon.
Well, look, smoking is very bad for you. We don't encourage it. You should give up if you can, and we certainly don't want kids smoking. We don't want them starting to smoke. But to just say we're going to bring in a policy which will make cigarettes illegal, you know, if you're younger than a certain age, like they did in New Zealand. New Zealand, of course, just about the most illiberal country on the face of the earth, is very illiberal, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. It's illiberal and it's also preposterous. You know, there's some things that are liberal but at least make some kind of logical sense. You can see they might work on their own terms. But this is just daft, and hopefully we won't have to wait for it to actually be implemented before people realise how surreal and absurd it's going to be when you have 30-year-olds being able to smoke and 29-year-olds can't, or 40-year-olds being able to smoke and 39-year-olds can't. But look, this is going to happen. He's serious about this insane idea. I agree. I don't know why on earth a Conservative Prime Minister who's been trying to prove his conservative, pragmatic, sensible credentials for the last 2 weeks would suddenly, under no pressure whatsoever, even from anti-smoking groups, decide to follow in Jacinda's footsteps on this. But look, it's obviously daft. The serious side of it is that, you know, prohibition doesn't actually prohibit. Prohibition doesn't work. If there's demand for a product, then it will get through. We've already got huge black market in tobacco in this country. What you're going to have with this creeping prohibition that's being proposed is a sort of an informal grey market of those 26-year-olds buying them for 25-year-olds, or whatever it may be, but then just an explosion of the existing black market, less tax revenue. And for what? I mean, we're essentially opening up a new front in the war on drugs here. And for what? To stop adult smoking? Why are we trying to stop adult smoking?
Exactly right. I mean, this is one of my problems with Rishi Sunak. You know, I think he has some good ideas. I quite liked a lot of the speech he just made. But he doesn't seem to understand one of the basic principles of conservatism. That is small government. This guy wants to stick his nose into every aspect of our lives, doing exactly what a socialist government would do. Why doesn't he understand this isn't the way a Tory Prime Minister should be behaving?
I don't know. I just don't know what gets into them. You know, I mean, they've been in power for 13 years, and Rishi did this speech in which he said, yeah, so we need change, which is always going to be a difficult sell when you've been in power for so long. But the big rabbit from the hat is incremental prohibition of tobacco, kicking smokers. Where's the change there? That's what every government's been doing. Every government since Blair's been kicking smokers. If we want to change, maybe leave them alone for a couple of years.
Indeed, you know, there's a few million people still smoke cigarettes, and they're also called voters, so they won't be very pleased with this. It wasn't, if nothing else, it wasn't particularly good politics, was it?
Well, or was it though? You know, if you're going to bring in prohibition, this is a smart way of doing it because you haven't actually got any voters to upset. The existing smokers, anybody over the age of 18 now, is always going to be allowed to buy cigarettes until, let's face it, until they one day go, actually, we're going to ban it for everyone, which will really be the next step. But, you know, if in theory, the existing smokers are safe, the only people whose liberty is going to be infringed are people who are either children and can't vote or haven't even been born yet. And who's going to go around defending the rights of the unborn smoker? Yeah,
there's another aspect to this, Chris. The governments increasingly seem to have appointed themselves, you know, doctors to the nation. They're obsessed with people's health. You know, my health is my business. As I say, you know, they want to stop me eating fatty foods. They want to stop me eating foods that have got too much sugar in them. They want to stop me smoking. They want to stop me drinking, and so on and so forth. This is a kind of new thing, isn't it? That whoever the Prime Minister is seems to think he's the sort of medical medical master in charge of the nation. We must administer to the health of the nation. That's our business, not really government's, isn't it?
Well, obviously, I don't think so. And you know, you'd have to ask a psychologist why these politicians always seem to be like this. But they do always seem to be like this. With the exception of Liz Truss, perhaps, every Prime Minister for many, many years has taken the same approach. Even someone like Boris Johnson, who wrote numerous articles slagging off the nanny state and saying that we should leave people alone to do what they want to do, ended up bringing in a whole raft of anti-obesity measures. Rishi Sunak, who, you know, in the lead up to the conference was trying to portray himself as being, you know, sensible, pragmatic, and he'd had enough of these, you know, fancy pie-in-the-sky ideas of his predecessor, ultimately is going to leave his successors with his pie-in-the-sky unworkable scheme. It's hypocritical. I don't know if he realizes how hypocritical it is. He's not going to get this through in a year's time. It probably breaches all sorts of other laws, equalities, for example. I mean, it's clearly ageism. It's clearly discriminatory. It's going to face a lot of resistance from people. It's almost certainly going to end up in the courts, because I suspect some of the tobacco companies will find a reason to take issue with it from a legal point of view. So assuming he loses the next election, which is obviously what the bookies are saying, he isn't going to see this introduced. He's going to be leaving this on someone else's plate, but that someone could very well be Wes Streeting, who actually is the one who came up with this idea in Britain in the first place. Yeah, so Tories introducing Labour Party policy, effectively. Yeah. Labour Party in New Zealand and Labour Party here.
Yeah, I mean, this is just nanny statism gone mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, you know, I've been, you know, debating these issues unsuccessfully for many years, trying to resist a lot of this over-regulation of tobacco and of smokers. And all the way through that, and for many decades before I ever got involved, the anti-smoking groups would say, look, this isn't about telling adults what they can and can't do. This is about children. This is about regulating the industry. But now we're getting down to it. You know, I haven't seen any of these public health groups opposing this policy today on liberal grounds. So actually, they are more than happy to see not just children, but adults prevented from buying cigarettes. And they will, I think, you know, reap the rewards.
Well, you listen, Chris, you got my vote. Great to talk to you, as always. Christopher Snowdown there, Head of Lifestyle Economics at the IEA.